Hey, what's up guys? John here. Evictions are skyrocketing, and what we're going to see next is going to blow your mind. It's absolutely incredible, and I'm going to lay this out for you to a T because there's so much happening behind the scenes with laws and regulations. It's going to be absolutely crazy, and we're going to see so much property trade from these mom and pop investors to new investors and to institutional investors. I believe the next 3.5 years are going to be unbelievable. It's going to be absolutely crazy. And if you're smart and you're sophisticated, if you're a renter even right now and you're like, you know what, what are the smart and savvy doing? They're doing this. This is what they're doing. They're paying attention to the laws, the regulations, the restrictions. That's what they're doing. And they're paying attention to the markets in which are going to be most favorable for investing. And they're going to be really wary of the ones that are not. And they're going to be really cautious about new green energy upgrades, these required green energy upgrades that are coming. They're paying attention to all of these things because all of these things are going to greatly impact the performance of your investment. And I'm going to break this down for you clearly in this video, so that you can take in all the information and you can invest accordingly based on true facts and without emotion. A lot of people making emotional decisions on buying and selling, and I think that's always a mistake because emotions change and facts don't. If you continuously look at the facts and you look forward into the future, you'll make smarter decisions. And I'll help you do that here in this video. Please hit that like button. When you hit the like button, YouTube will share this video to educate more people about what's really going on in the economy and the real estate market. Also, today's video is sponsored by my company, GreatCreditFast.com. If you want to fix your credit, we would love to help you and position you for the greatest wealth transfer of all time at GreatCreditFast.com. That's GreatCreditFast.com. Take a look at this. So, of the approximately 50 million rental units in America, around 41% are owned by mom and pops. So over 20 million housing units owned by mom and pop investors. Now, many people say, well, that's a lot. That is a lot. Let's take a look at what's actually happened over the last couple of years of these mom and pop investors that nobody's talking about. In 2020 and 2021, their businesses were under attack from high cost. And everyone was supporting the large corporations. Remember, everyone was saying to go to Walmart and Target. Those were the safe places to go. Everyone was going there. Everyone was spending their money and their resources there. When they were doing that, Target, Walmart, all of these companies, Amazon, what were they doing? They were investing into their employees. They were investing in their own shipping and distribution. They were driving their costs down. And they were doing so in a way in which it suffocated a lot of small businesses. So these small business owners, these mom and pop businesses, a lot of them own, duplexes and triplexes and fourplexes. They've made investments over the course of their, 20 or 30 years in business. They have a couple little properties. And what happened during that period? A lot of them had tenants they couldn't evict due to eviction moratoriums. A lot of them had rising costs with property taxes and insurance and repair costs. A lot of them had a lot of curveballs come to them. And so when we look at that, we're like, okay, well, what are they going to do? Well, of course, they would increase rents, try to offset the losses that they're experiencing in other aspects of their life, right? Many of them, that's what they did. They increased rents. But now some unique things are happening. Some very unique things are happening. So evictions so far, a lot of fear. Rent hikes across the country mean eviction notices for many Americans. This came out a couple hours ago, literally 2 hours ago. It says eviction filings up more than 60%. But look at this article here. This is from the United States Interagency Council on Homelessness. And they put this article out. White House hosts a summit on eviction prevention reforms. It says, to ensure we build on the progress and prevent a return to the eviction system that allowed 3.6 million eviction filings a year, often for small amounts of funds. I mean, who's to say what's small or not? If you're a landlord, you rent out your property and you come up with a deal with your tenant, like, hey, I'm going to give you this 1-bed, 1-bath unit, and this is the deal. I'm going to pay for utilities, or you're going to pay for utilities. You pay me $1,000 a month, and you pay me on the first. If you pay me after the 5th, there's a 10% late fee or whatever it is. And you guys sign a contract, you guys do a deal. That's the deal, right? That's the deal. And if you can't pay the rent, then the only fair thing to do would be to move out and allow that landlord to rent out the property to someone that can, right? So to evict someone on a small amount of funds, that landlord might need that small amount of funds to make their own bills. And so if they can't get the money from you, they should be able to get it from somebody else. But look what they're saying. To ensure we build on the progress and prevent a return to an eviction system that allowed 3.6 million eviction filings a year, often for small amounts of funds, and without any legal representation or eviction diversion progress, here are some of the highlights of recent progress. Since the Biden administration's push, approximately 180 jurisdictions and 36 states developed or enhanced eviction diversion programs of the ERA. So this is all in the last couple of years. So a lot of people are thinking, okay, yeah, sure, some things have changed in in America and the economy and with the world. Many things have changed. But a lot of people aren't paying attention to the big changes in real estate. A lot of people are investing in multifamily as if everything is 2018, 2019 again. Look at some of these changes. 3 states and 15 cities now offer legislative rights for tenants, right? So they can get access to counsel. They can get access to free legal counsel. Since the pandemic started, nearly 60 cities expanded access to counsel for tenants using federal funds. Since 2021, 31 states and 67 localities have passed or implemented more than 154 unique tenant protections. You can read more on the White House fact sheet, right? So you can read everything that they're doing here. It's really incredible. And so they put this out, kind of breaking down all their plans. I'll leave this in the show notes so you guys can look at it yourself. But then they put this out, which I think is very fascinating. And I mentioned this once before, the White House blueprint for a renter's bill of rights. And so this is what I think is likely going to happen here. I believe that a lot of landlords are in very, very big trouble. A lot of mom and pops are in very, very big trouble. They can't qualify for financing because many of them have seen depressed valuations and depressed income coming in from their business. They have a consumer that many of which, they can't afford to spend what they were spending 5 years ago. So their revenues are continuing to fall, but yet business owners are paying more for insurance and taxes, for supplies and services, everything that they're selling. It's costing them more and they have less money coming in. And so when they need to get financing, they need to get money, and they have to borrow money at these very, very high valuations. I'm talking 7-8% now to borrow money. A lot of them can't do it. And so if their businesses are struggling and they can't afford the debt service, what are they going to do? They're going to sell assets. That's what they're going to do, especially if there's more regulations and red tape on their properties and they can't rent them out and they don't have the freedom to do what they want with their properties. Now you might say, well, mortgage rates aren't 7 or 8%, John. Look at this article here. So this is, look at the mortgage rates here. 8%, 8.2% is what it is right here. So 8.2%, and when you're looking at, maybe you just put that in. It says 8.133% if you refresh it, but if you put 100K in here, let's say you want to borrow 100K, it says 8.201%, right? 8.201% to borrow 100 grand on a 30-year fixed. $748 a month. That's a lot of money. $748 a month. So if you have a duplex, say you have a fourplex, right, and you want to bump the rent $200 a month per door, that's a lot of money for the tenant to pick up and pay for, right? A lot of them can't afford a $200 rent bump. And so what's going to happen? If they can't afford the rent bump and their businesses can't weather the storm and they don't have the flexibility in their properties, they're going to start to offload and sell. And that doesn't take into consideration all the new changes coming with automation. If you look at just the entire economy as a whole, it's getting restructured. Everything is changing and changing quickly. And so when you look at these 20 million properties over the next couple of years, this change, coupled with new rent regulations, coupled with high borrowing costs, coupled with extremely high debt loads, it's going to push for a large block of inventory to hit the market. And I think a lot of smart and savvy investors, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of renters, a lot of people are aware of all this new change, and they're paying close attention. If they're living in Los Angeles, they're paying attention to a lot of these new rent regulations, a lot of the new rent controls, rent protections is what they call them, that are blanketed through rent control. And they're looking at a lot of changes that are happening nationwide. And they're paying attention to this, and they're matching this up with a lot of these new green energy upgrades. And when you bring everything together, you can get a clear picture of how much is it going to cost to manage the property, what is my exposure, what is my downside risk if a tenant doesn't pay, how long would it actually take to get that tenant evicted, and what would the cost be to bring this property up to 2030 standards. All of these changes are going to be really, really important. And I think a lot of smart and savvy investors are paying attention to this. Look at Tom Steyer. He ran for president, I believe it was 2020. And now he's doing $1 billion real estate portfolio that he's bringing everything up to the clean energy standards. And it's very fascinating if you look at what his strategy is and what he's doing. He's only buying 1 to 3 story buildings with large parking lots that he can integrate solar in. And then he's doing this so that he can bring all of these properties up to code, to the new code. And so when you're looking at that and you see Invitation Homes and a lot of these companies doing the same thing, if you're investing and you're not really contemplating the cost to do that with your own properties, and you're not matching it up with the new regulations and new laws, it's going to be a problem. I interviewed someone that I'm going to drop on this podcast, on this channel here, on my podcast on Friday, that I was on miami-dade.gov website. It's called Solar Energy Loan Fund, and they get direct funding from the federal government with these new regulations. And they discuss and talk about what these regulations are, the cost. They talk about everything. And I'm going to drop it here because I think a lot of people aren't paying attention to it, and I think it's going to be a game changer for a lot of people. Because imagine you're a small business owner, you're a mom and pop investor, and you're like, oh yeah, not only is there a rent cap, but you have to spend 50 grand or 30 grand or 20 grand to bring your property up to the new codes. It's going to be a problem. For many, it's going to be an opportunity for others. But it's just the facts. On this channel, I remove emotion from finance so we can see things factually for what's actually happening to make smart, informed, educated decisions based on the truth. What do you think about this entire situation? Drop below. Hit the like button, subscribe here. Add me on IG as well for content that you won't get anywhere else. And if you want to fix your credit, we'd love to help you at greatcreditfast.com. That's greatcreditfast.com. Catch you guys in the next video.